that one-line resolution on socialism sounds intriguing, because obviously socialism is the main thing that I'm talking about. Well, anyway, I think that it's been really good to start the meeting this evening with that brief report about the battle of the agency workers in the RMT, and I will just say about that in a way as well, it's quite an illustration of what the rest of the meeting is about in terms of the role of a party like the Socialist Party. It's a bit of a living example in a way, because for the Socialist Party, obviously first and foremost, our role is to offer support to workers in struggle, so workers like those RMT agency workers that our members will go down to and participate and assist in your protests and so on, and if a strike is built, then we'll be there on the picket lines to give you all the support that we can. But also a party like ours will do what we can to extend support. So as well as bringing our own support, then we will advertise, and we do advertise about the dispute in our paper. We let all of our members know about it, particularly our members in trade unions. And also through our role, the Socialist Party's leading role in the National Shop Stewards Network means that dispute like this and many others get out to thousands of people all over the country in different workplaces, different unions, to build up that support. But what we also do, and this is really what the discussion tonight is about as well, is that we also bring something, because we also bring a whole wealth of experience of our own members, and our members in fact internationally, because the Socialist Party is part of a worldwide socialist organisation. And so we bring some lessons and some experiences of our own to disputes when we come to offer our support, by which I don't mean that we just bowl up to your protest or anyone else's protest and start telling you what to do. Of course we wouldn't do that. But we would, and we do, and I'm sure you've experienced it, it's why you're here tonight, through conversations, again through our paper, through leaflets and so on, bring some suggestions, some ideas of what can help a struggle like that to progress. And what we also do is we also try to make links between the individual disputes and struggles that are taking place, between all of those different campaigns and different issues, to draw them together and to make links between individual campaigns and the broader question of the kind of society we live in, and fighting to try and change that. And that's again why, you know, it's great that you're here to take part in a wider discussion. There will be a whole range of different campaigning issues that are going to get raised in the course of the agenda tonight, and to be able to generalise, really, to draw general conclusions from those different struggles, different campaigns, is part of the role, really, of a party like the Socialist Party. So we have a living example, really, in the room of what the discussion is about tonight. But I do think it's important to discuss about why we have a party, as well as what our role is, because a lot of people, of course, mistrust parties, and quite right too, really, in lots of ways, because the experience of most people at the moment is that you can't trust most parties. Most the mainstream political parties that most people know about, the Tories, Labour Party, the Lib Dems, they're all the same. They're representatives of big business on the whole. In the past, the Labour Party stood up for ordinary working class people, but most ordinary working class people don't feel that that's the case any longer. And there is naturally a mistrust of political parties. For people who are of a slightly older generation than some also remember, like when I grew up, that there was half the world was organised differently from the way the world is organised today. There was the Soviet Union, there was Stalinism, there was bureaucracy, there was dictatorship, and that idea of control and top-down party organisation also puts off a lot of people from the idea of parties. And it's very understandable in the situation where at the moment there is really, on a big scale, on a mass scale, there is no big mainstream party that actually stands up for working class people. It's very understandable that a lot of people are very mistrustful and very sceptical about parties. And I think it's also true to say, and we would emphasise, that we don't think there needs to be a party because it's the party that's going to change things. We think it's working class people that will change things. it's RMT members, it's people campaigning about housing, it's people campaigning on all sorts of different issues, the NHS and so on. Ordinary working class people that have the ability and the strength to change society, to take up particular issues, one-off issues, single-issue campaigns, but also on a bigger scale to change the kind of society we live in, to bring about a new form of society, in fact to bring about a socialist society. It's ordinary working class people that will do that. And when you look at what's happening now, and when you look about what's happening in the rest of the world now, as well as here, and what's happened over the last few years, it's quite clear that ordinary people struggle. Most ordinary people want to just get about and have an ordinary life. We don't want to be engaged in battles and struggles all of the time. We want to just be getting on with our normal day-to-day existence. But unfortunately, the realities of the capitalist world, the system that we live in at the moment, mean that we can't. It means that people who are going to work one day turn up and the next day they haven't got a job. People lose their homes. People's A&E gets shut down. And people are forced into a situation where they have to start to fight and to struggle. And what we've seen on a very large scale over the last few years is almost whole populations rising up. When you look at what's happened in North Africa, in Tunisia, in Egypt and in other places, there's been mass rebellions, uprisings of masses of people fighting to change society. And you look at somewhere like Greece at the moment, if people follow that, there have been general strike after general strike. The people in Greece who are suffering massive austerity and huge destruction of their society, really, are fighting again and again and again. But the question really that poses is that there are all those fights going on and people rise up in a mass way when they feel they have no choice. But we do still live under capitalism. In each of those instances, the society has not changed, and the attacks that are being carried out, it's still a society that's run in the interests of the rich, in the interests of big business. And although we can win some victories, and we do, you can save a local hospital and you can do things like that, and hopefully you will win jobs, permanent jobs in the RMT. On a mass scale, unfortunately, what history has shown over the last decades really is that people have risen up and fought to change society, but they haven't always been successful. And the key thing there is about the question of leadership. Because if we go back nearly 100 years, there's an example of a time when the mass of working class and poor people did rise up, they fought against the system they were living under, and they did successfully change society. And I'm talking here about Russia, about the Russian Revolution nearly 100 years ago. Now, there's a lot to discuss about what really happened in Russia, and we haven't got the time to go into that now, and you should have another meeting on it, and you should all come back again and discuss about that. But the main point that I'm making about it now is that the difference between then and all the other times is that there was a party. And there was a party which was able to do, in those circumstances, what the Socialist Party hopes we will be able to do when our time comes, if you like, in Britain. And that party was called the Bolshevik Party. But the point about a party is that when there's any kind of mass movement that develops, getting organised becomes very important. Spontaneous movements develop all the time, but in any campaign, people do get organised. Those of you who are involved in campaigns, you have meetings in the RMT about your agency dispute and so on, and different campaigns realise as soon as you get going that you have to get organised. And you have to have a plan, and you have to have some kind of democracy. You have to be able to make decisions, to discuss things out, but make decisions, and you need to be able to act on those decisions. And basic levels of organisation become very important, and particularly when you've got something which is involving very, very large numbers of people, you have to have people who you entrust to make some decisions or to take on responsibilities. As long as you can elect them, as long as you can get rid of them if they get it wrong, as long as they're held to account, then a leadership is extremely important. And really what we are trying to build with the Socialist Party is a party that can play that role, that can be is the kind of the organising tool that masses of ordinary working class people need in order to successfully change society, or on a day-to-day basis, in order to assist with struggles on a day-to-day basis. But fundamentally, in order to struggle to get rid of this system and to build a socialist society, we would argue that what we're trying to build is the tool to enable working class people to do that. And that's what a party is, because a party like ours, it does a whole variety of things. One of the things it does is we learn the lessons of history. Today we're discussing what our role is. I don't know what you discussed last week, but at some point you will be discussing things that happened in the past that we draw conclusions from. We look at workers' struggles at different times in history and learn from those struggles, the successes, the mistakes that were made, in order to be able to apply those lessons to today. And we look at history in a different way from the way we're all taught about it in the classroom at school. We look at history from the point of view of a working class viewpoint. We also study ideas, we study theory, we read books, we study Marxist ideas, we study the people who led the Russian Revolution I was referring to, which is Lenin and Trotsky, and we study the ideas that have been developed since that time as well, because we do think that discussing ideas is important to get some clarity, to get some understanding about how society works, why things happen the way they do, and the things that we need to do next. We think that studying those ideas is important. We have a vision, a party has a vision of what's possible. When we're all immersed in the day-to-day, sometimes it's very difficult to lift your head up and see about where you're aiming at, what's possible, and that's what a party can bring, because we do have a vision of what's possible, what we're aiming for, and what should be done. A party, if it does its job properly, if it builds properly, has experience in struggle, and that's what I was saying about what we could bring to disputes, because I mean the Socialist Party itself has been around for nearly 50 years. They're not always called that, but we also, as I say, part of an international. We have members who are leading miners' struggle in South Africa currently. We have members who are in Kazakhstan leading the efforts to organise and help oil workers to organise there and to develop political ideas against repressive dictatorships. We have experience all around the world that we can bring to any situation. And we gain that experience through taking part in struggles, through taking part on a day-to-day basis, fighting alongside people campaigning. And we aim to build a party that has real roots in working class communities. And actually, I think, what people who are present in this room tonight are an indication of that. There's people here tonight that are involved in different campaigns, or involved in different workplaces, different unions. And that's important, because we have the lessons of the past and we read the books and we discuss the ideas, but it isn't all just sitting in rooms and talking about it. And it isn't either just on its own and taking part in activity. It's the importance of bringing those two things together and of learning all the time. So when we're involved in a campaign, when we're on a picket line, we're discussing, we're talking. We, as our own members are also involved in struggles and are leading them sometimes and organising them, or when we're going to support others, there's that constant discussion, constant dialogue going on. And it's from all of that, putting it together, that discussion, that being involved in experience, putting that together with lessons of history, the ideas, socialist theory, that we can come up with an idea about what needs to be done, that we look at what's going on in the world and we work out how we think things are likely to develop and consequently what we need to do. And in fact, we're building up now in the next month to the Socialist Party's National Congress, a conference, where that's exactly what we're going to be doing on a national level, looking at how things are developing in Britain at the moment, drawing from all the experiences that are present in rooms like this all around the country and putting that into working out what we think we need to do over the next period of time. So from all of that we can put together demands, we can bring out